Most e-commerce brands are obsessed with social media, but it's actually one of the worst places to rely on when it comes to generating a consistent and predictable revenue stream. Because the brands making the most money, they're quietly printing cash with email automations and campaign strategies that are set up in a way that essentially automate one-on-one conversations at scale. My name's Gavin. I run an email and SMS marketing agency. Pretty good intro, huh? I scripted that intro. I usually don't script these videos. Anyway, I made these videos really just to provide tips and tricks on email and SMS marketing. I have a school community where I teach people how to do email marketing for free. There's a link in the description, and you're probably gonna see an ad for that community, I'd say in about 3 minutes. But anyway, let's get into the video. The big misconception: social media feels like growth, right? Followers, likes, views, but more often than not, these are actually vanity metrics. You want to be focusing on metrics that genuinely generate predictable revenue. And unfortunately, a like on a video doesn't necessarily correlate to that, okay? So here's some of the problems with social media in general. You don't actually own your audience when you have an audience on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn in my case, and Twitter. And believe me, I have a social following across all of these platforms, okay? But the reality is you do not own the audience that you have on that platform. If your account gets shut down, it's gone. Unlike with email, when you take those profiles off of those platforms through lead magnets, funnels, you actually own that list, and you can take that list anywhere you want. Even if a platform like Klaviyo or MailChimp shuts you down, you can still take that list and take it to a different platform. Unlike with Instagram, for example. Instagram shuts you down, your audience is gone, okay? Now, here's the thing. Social media is great at 3 things: discovery, top of funnel attention, and brand building. But here's the thing, those 3 things are done within those platforms. The revenue and the sales happen off of those platforms. Now, excluding the case of TikTok Shop, I'll caveat that. I don't want you guys coming after me in the comments, but you can kind of see what I mean. The sales and the actual revenue happens off of social media. And I'm not saying it happens within an inbox, but it's a hell of a lot easier to get a sale within somebody's Gmail account as opposed to somebody's Instagram account. The thing with social media is you're relying on algorithmic dependencies, right? There's reach volatility, there's no control over actually who sees your content, and it's hard to convert them consistently. With email, on the other hand, you're actually not relying on an algorithm in so much as you maintain your deliverability and you're fine. Outside of that, you send an email, it's gonna be seen by your audience, assuming they're checking their emails and you have good subject lines. Check out my videos on my YouTube channel if you wanna see tips and tricks on how to do subject lines. Little plug there. Now here's an example, right? You post something on social media, people see it, cool. All right, you maybe reach 2 to 5% of your audience who even knows who you are. With email marketing, you're aiming for about 40% open rates at a minimum. 10,000 subscribers on your newsletter list, 10,000 followers on Instagram, you're hoping to get about 4,000 people from your newsletter to see your content. Really quickly, sorry to interrupt the video, I just wanted to tell you something really cool that we've started doing with Inbox. I've actually created a school community where I teach you anything and everything I know about email and SMS marketing, from really advanced campaign strategies to how to simply set up your Klaviyo account, all the way to building really, really cool automations for the back end of your e-commerce store. Whether you're a business owner trying to learn how to do email marketing or an email marketer trying to learn how to become a better email marketer, there is a link in the description to this school community where I teach you everything I know. Check it out, it's worthwhile. Book a call to have a chat with me to see if you're a right fit for the community, and if you are, I'd love to get you in there. Anyway, sorry for interrupting your video, let's get back to it. On social media, a stock standard post isn't really gonna hit those levels, okay? Now, with email, like I said before, you own that audience, and you have direct access to it whenever you need. You don't have to create an amazing, compelling video to make sure that you show up in someone's inbox. You can send emails and predictably know that that email is gonna be seen, assuming you follow my deliverability practices also on my YouTube channel. Here's the other thing too. The traffic that you're reaching on your newsletter is significantly more likely to buy from you as opposed to your traffic on Instagram or TikTok or social media. The reason being is because those people have opted in and demonstrated or given more attention to opting into your newsletter as opposed to simply following. Somebody opting into your newsletter is a demonstration of high intent in itself. So if I go onto your website and I give you my email address for a discount code, that is a high demonstration of buyer intent as opposed to somebody following. So subscribers are inherently more valuable than your followers on social media. The trick that you have to really figure out is how do you make these two platforms work with each other? Because it's not really a game of social media or email marketing. It's a game of social media and email marketing. How do you build a following on social media, drive them to a newsletter to then create a predictable revenue channel? Your predictable revenue channel shouldn't really be social media to predictable revenue channel. It should be social media to newsletter to then creating a predictable revenue channel, all right? Email newsletters are inherently more predictable for the reasons I mentioned before. You send an email, your audience sees it, you get direct access to them in a way that social media doesn't really allow you to have. So you have to drive your traffic from social media, but I want to reiterate another point as to why email and email marketing in general is significantly better than social media from a conversion rate perspective. Here's the thing with social media. The content cycle is very short-lived. Even on YouTube. YouTube has a bit more of an evergreen content life, but there's a lifespan of my videos. If I post this video, for example, after about 3 more months, I'm never gonna see a view again. With email, if you build your automations properly, they have a much longer life cycle as opposed to, say, a simple post that you put out focusing on a sale. Now, don't get me wrong, you can send sale emails and those, yes, have a short lifespan. But if you build automations, their lifespans are significantly longer than a social media strategy or a campaign blast. You put out a campaign on social media, it's out there, it gets seen, it's done. With email marketing, you build an automation and obviously it just keeps running based on the triggers and the actions that people make on your website. So really what you need to do is you need to use your social media to drive them to your website, capture their subscription through a pop-up form or some sort of offer, and then have a consistent ongoing conversation that is done through automations. I'm saying welcome series, abandoned cart, browse abandon, post-purchase thank you flows. And what you can do is you can build a series of automations that have a conversation with everybody at every stage of the customer lifecycle for essentially ever, as long as you have your platforms running. Social media doesn't really get you that. Social media rents attention, email owns it. Okay, the final step of this video is actionable takeaways. I've talked a bunch of shit on social media. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to use both. But, Gavin, what tips do you have for me in this video? Let me tell you. What you need to do is you need to have a social media strategy that gets that attention. And that social media strategy needs to drive people away from social media and onto a place where you can capture their email address. Now, platforms like ManyChat, lead magnets, and stuff like that are great because your focus is taking them off of a place where you rent an audience, social media, and then into a place where you own that audience. The easiest thing you can do is create an automation, or rather call to actions on your social media that drives people to a landing page or a pop-up form that simply captures their email address in exchange for an incentive. You need to give someone a reason to opt in. Think 20% off. Once you do that, you should then build a series of other automations off the back of somebody opting in. For example, a strong welcome series is really going to help build a conversation for a long period of time. Personally, I like to have welcome series that last about 2 weeks, and then I like to build other automations off the back of that welcome series. Abandoned carts, browse abandon, post-purchase thank you flows. Then I also like to have even more longer flows, like sunset flows or win-back flows. Now, if you want to figure out how to structure these automations, I gotta plug my school community again. There's a link in the description of this video, as well as the first pinned comment. I outline every single flow that you could possibly need. Once you have those flows done, and once you've grown your newsletter to ideally 3,000 profiles at the minimum, I then recommend sending regular campaigns to your audience. What the regular campaigns will do, and once again, this is an audience that you own, that you know is going to be seeing your content. Those campaigns will, yes, generate revenue, and our campaign strategies, which you can check out, really do generate significant revenue for our clients. We've generated hundreds of millions of dollars at this point, but they also drive your audience to trigger the automations in the back end that you've set up in the previous step. So all of a sudden, you're taking an audience that's rented, that is unpredictable in terms of how often they're gonna see your content, and you're moving them to a place where you own, and you know you're gonna have conversations that are consistently going to be seen through automated emails and email campaigns. Boom. Video done. Okay, if you have any questions, just chuck them down below. I answer anything and everything that you guys have. Subscribe to the channel, like it, boost the algorithm, validate my existence as a human being, and I'll see you in the next video. I make 2 videos every single week. Thanks for watching.